Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Let's get started. The length of the foundation chain is going to be the bottom to top length that you want for the cardigan, and the foundation chain is going to be a multiple of 16 plus 4. So start by placing your multiples of 16. 1, 2, 3, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Another round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 14, 15, 16. So continue like that. You place a multiple of 16, and once you have approximately the length that you want after making your multiple of 16, then add 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. Row 1 is going to be a row of single crochet. So into the second chain, make a single crochet and repeat single crochets across. To start row 2, chain 1. This is just a turning chain. Turn your work, and into the very first stitch, make a single crochet. In the second stitch, single crochet. Same thing in the third stitch, single crochet. Now chain 1, yarn over, and we are going to skip the next stitch. Into the following, we will make a double crochet. After the double crochet, chain 1. Again, we are skipping the next stitch. This time into the following stitch, we will make a treble crochet. So yarn over 1, yarn over 2, okay, skip the next stitch. Into the following, make your treble crochet. That means you go under the 2 loops of the stitch, you pull up a loop, and you have now 4 loops on the hook. Pull through the first 2, through the next 2 loops, and through the last 2 loops. So we just made the treble crochet. Chain 1, and for the next stitch, again we skip it. Into the following, this time we are making a quadruple crochet. I hope that's how it's called. So yarn over 1, 2, 3. Okay, you already have at this point 4 loops on the hook. Then skip the next stitch as usual. Into the following, inside the hook, pull up a loop, and this time around you have 5 loops on the hook. Pull through 2 loops, then through 2 loops, then through 2 loops, and finally through the last 2 loops. That's the quadruple crochet. Chain 1, and we'll repeat another quadruple crochet. So yarn over 1, 2, 3, we skip the next stitch. Into the following, we make the quadruple crochet. Insert the hook, pull up a loop. You have a total of 5 loops on the hook. Pull through the first 2, the next 2, the next 2, and finally the last set of 2 loops. Chain 1, and now we will do the reverse work, meaning we will, after the quadruple crochet, Now we are doing a treble crochet. Yarn over 1, 2. You have 3 loops on the hook. Skip the next stitch into the following, insert your hook, pull. You have 4 loops on the hook. Pull through the first 2, the next 2, and the last 2. That is a treble crochet. Chain 1, and now we will do a double crochet. Yarn over once, skip the next stitch into the following, make a double crochet. Chain 1, we skip the next stitch into the following, we are making a single crochet, then 2 more single crochets. So into the next stitch, single crochet, the next one again, single crochet. So the pattern goes like this. You have 3 single crochets at the beginning of the row, 1 chain, then double crochet, chain 1, treble crochet, chain 1, quadruple crochet, chain 1, another quadruple crochet, chain 1, treble crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and then 3 single crochets. After this set of 3 single crochet, chain 1, and we start another set of wave, or this shape. So yarn over for a double crochet. Of course, after chaining 1, we skip the next stitch into the following, double crochet, chain 1, skip in the following stitch, treble crochet. So you yarn over twice, treble, chain 1, skip into the next stitch, this time quadruple crochet, 1, 2, 3, yarn over. You go through the first 2 loops, next 2 loops, next 2 loops, and then finally through the last 2 loops. Then chain 1, another quadruple crochet, yarn over once, twice, 3 times, then skip in the next stitch, pull up a loop, and go through the first 2, next 2, next 2 loops, then the final 2 loops. Chain 1, and we start going reverse. So treble crochet, okay, from quadruple we go to treble. Yarn over once, twice, skip in the next stitch, make your treble crochet, chain 1, and the next is going to be a double crochet. So we yarn over only once, skip, and make the double crochet in the following stitch, chain 1, and after a double crochet we have the set of 3 single crochets. So of course, after the double crochet you chain 1, skip, then you make 1 double crochet in the next stitch, immediately next stitch another single, next stitch a single again, and you see the pattern. We are going to repeat the same thing across till the end of the row. And this row 2 should end with 3 single crochets. So you have something like this. To start the next row, chain 1, and row number 3 is going to be a row of single crochet, so a repeat of row 1. make 1 single crochet starting from the first stitch, single crochet, and make single crochet in the next stitch, into the third single crochet as well, a single crochet. Then in the space chain, make also a single crochet. On top of the double crochet, make a single. In the space, single crochet. On top of the treble, single crochet. In the chain space, on top of the first quadruple, inside the chain, on top of the second quadruple, in the chain space, on top of the treble, in the chain space, then on top of the double, in the chain space, on top of the 3 single crochets, make single crochets. And next you have a chain space. Repeat the same process, single crochet in the chain space, single crochet on top of what you have next. So this is a double, so you work like that, single crochet on top of every stitch and inside every chain space. Once you are done with this row of single crochet, chain 5 to start row 4. Then turn, and these 5 chains count as 1 quadruple crochet plus a chain. And for this row, we are going to do almost the same thing as row 2, except that we start the row instead with a quadruple crochet. So this is our first quadruple plus 1 chain. Okay, we skip the next stitch. Into the following, we are going to make a quadruple. Yarn over 3 times into the third stitch, make your quadruple crochet, chain 1, and we are going to make now a treble crochet. Yarn over twice, skip into the following, treble crochet, then chain 1, and the next is going to be a double. Yarn over once, skip in the next stitch, double crochet, and after a double crochet, what we do, always chain 1, then skip and 3 singles. So I'm going to skip this, on top of the next single crochet and 2 more single crochets, then chain 1, and the sequence goes on as we did for row 2. So you continue the sequence like this till the end, and this row number 4, should end with 2 quadruple. So this is my last stitch, and as you can see, I have the 2 quadruple crochets, the treble, double, and then the 3 singles. So this is how it looks like at this point. chain 1 to start row 5, turn, and row 5 is going to be a row of single crochet exactly like row 3. And this is how the row is going to end this time. This is my first quadruple, single crochet on top of it. We have a chain, or it's assumed that we have a chain space here, right? So make a single crochet between the two quadruples, okay? Then the last stitch or the last quadruple here, we will make a single crochet in its last chain, okay? So on top of the last chain, make a single, and that's how we end this row 5. Chain 1 to start row 6, and row 6 is going to be the same thing as row 2. We start with the 3 single crochets. So in the very first stitch, single crochet, second stitch, single crochet, third stitch, single crochet. Now we start working the sequence. Chain 1, skip, in the next double crochet, chain 1, skip, in the next treble crochet, then chain 1, skip, in the next quadruple crochet, and you work your sequence. So now my second quadruple, then a treble, then a double, chain, and then the 3 single crochets, so exactly same thing as row 2, okay? That's what we are repeating for row 6. Well, the next row, row 7, is going to be the same as row 3, single crochets, exactly the same thing as row 3. Row 8 is going to be a repetition of row 4, which means we start with 5 chains, turn, skip the next stitch into the following, which is the third stitch of the row, make a quadruple crochet, you see it's the same as this row, row 4, chain 1, skip, and then the treble crochet. So go ahead and repeat row 4. So you have to repeat the row of single crochet, which is row 3, then the sequence, which is row 2, then row 3 again, single crochets, then row 4, okay? So this is the sequence that we'll keep repeating until you have your shoulder to shoulder length. And please make the last row of your panel a single crochet. So I mean end this panel on row 3. Well, I'm happy with the length, or I should call it the width, that I reached for the back panel. And before ending this back panel, I want to do a row of single crochet here on this side to give it a cleaner look. This is the side where I'm going to attach the 2 front panels later. So how do I do it? Start by chaining 1, So if like me you have this sequence, this type of sequence, right, the one with the single crochets, start with 1 single crochet, then the next row, which is the one of the 3 single crochets together, make 1 single crochet. Then you have one row here, which is where we did another row of single crochet. There, make a single crochet. Then into this sequence that ended with quadruple crochet, this one, I'm going to make 4 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I have this type of sequence here, you know, the one that ends with single crochet, the small sequence, I don't know how to call it. There we make 3, so 1, 2, and then the third one. And again, I'm on a row that ends with quadruple crochet, and I will make 4 single crochets around the quadruple crochet. And repeat the process across. Now at this point you can cut the yarn and fasten off. Now it's time to define how wide you want the neckline to be and how wide your front panels are going to be. Basically, I would say you need around 15 centimeters, more or less. So roughly, if I'm sticking to the 15 centimeters rule, that means I will have my neckline somewhere here. Then you see that we don't have the same number of rows and the same type of rows on both sides. So what I'm going to do next is make my 2 panels to start with one type of sequence, then end with the other type of sequence. It's going to be pretty easy for me because my 2 sides have the same type of rows on, you know, the corners. Let's assume that your last row or the end of your panel on this side is not identical to the beginning. So what do? I'm just going to take the example. Let me fold this to assume that my back panel ended on this type of row with the quadruple crochet. What I will do is count 3 rows like what I have on this side. So 1, 2, 3. It's supposed to end here. Then I also had 3 rows of single crochet, right? So 1, 2, 3, which means my stitch marker will be like this. And that way, I'm sure I'm going to have the same type of panel on both sides. So you see, this is what I meant by starting with one type of sequence and then ending with the other type of sequence. My front panel is going to start with the single crochet sequence and end with the quadruple crochet sequence. And on the other side, I would have my panel on this side starting with the quadruple crochet but ending with the single crochet row. The making of the front panels will follow the same process as for the back panel. So start your foundation chain with the same number of chains that you did for the back panel, a multiple of 16 plus 4. Then make a row of single crochet, then make repeats of row 2, 3, and 4 like we did for the back panel. and make as many rows as needed to make up what you defined earlier for your front panel. And now that I'm happy with the width of the panel, the way we did for the back panel, I'm going to add a row of single crochet here. This is the side that I'm going to use to join to the back panel. So chain 1, and what we did previously, single crochet where there is a single crochet. So right here, this last row was a single crochet. I'm doing a single crochet there. Inside this quadruple crochet, I'll make 4 single crochets. And then here I'm going to make 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So complete this row of single crochet. Repeat the same process to make your second front panel. Now let's sew the edges together. I'm going to reattach the yarn, so I'm going through the first stitch on the front panel, then the first stitch on the back panel, then I'm going to do single crochets for the sewing. So again, I'm going through that first stitch where the yarn is reattached at the back as well, through the first stitch and single crochet, and I'm going to use single crochet going through the second stitch on the front panel, second stitch on the back panel, single crochet, and so on. Do the same thing on the second side. Now put the cardigan on and decide how wide you want the sleeves to be. Now that you have a rough idea of how wide you want the sleeves to be, count the number of stitches that will make up that width. One quick thing before you start counting: when you were working on the panels, each of them, we did one last row of single crochet on the seam area of each panel, and before doing that row of single crochet there was one chain. Okay, so if I take the example of this panel, here was a row of single crochet. After completing this row of single crochet, I did one chain before doing a row of single crochet on this side for the seam, right? So when you are counting your stitches for the sleeve, count as well this chain one. Same thing on the back panel. I also have that chain one here, and I'm going to count it while counting the total number of stitches that makes the width of the sleeve. And I have something a bit different on the second panel. On this panel, this row is where my panel started from. So there is the foundation chain here, and then the row of single crochet. While counting the stitches for the sleeve on this side, I have a situation whereby my last stitch here is this one, right? But I have a loop here which was the beginning of the foundation chain. Okay, so I will count this loop because I'm going to insert a stitch in it while building the sleeve. This will help to avoid having an empty space or a hole while creating the sleeve. After counting the stitches, you may need to add or remove few stitches in order to have a multiple of 16 plus 4. And make sure that you have the same number of stitches on both panels. By the way, if you don't like this counting hassle, you can build your panel for the sleeve separately and sew it later on the cardigan. Now I'm going to reattach the yarn and start from row 2 because the last row or the edge here is already acting as row 1 of single crochet. Okay, so yarn reattached, and for row 2 what we do usually, 1 single crochet, then second single crochet, third single crochet, chain 1 and double crochet. You know you know the pattern by now. 3 single crochets at the end of this row, chain 1, turn and do a row 3, which is going to be single crochet. At the end of this row, the next row is going to be a row 4, so start with 5 chains, turn and do a quadruple crochet. After this row, make a row 3, then a row 2, and you repeat the same process until you have the length that you want for the sleeve. Now let's do a kind of ribbon that will be made of double crochet. For that, chain 2, turn, and these 2 chains count as a double crochet into the next stitch. So you skip the very first stitch where the 2 chains are, into the next one, make a double crochet and make double crochets in every stitch across. By the way, as you see, I switched to another color of yarn for the ribbon, this row of double crochet, so that it pops out nicely. Do the same thing for the second sleeve. Turn the cardigan wrong side out and sew the sides together, so the sleeve armpit till the bottom. You may use another sewing method of your choice. I'm going to use a yarn and needle. Now the last step is going to be to do a row of double crochet around the neck, passing by the sides here till the bottom, then the back panel, back to the other front panel. You go up until there. So 1 row of double crochet, the way we did for the sleeve. So reattach the yarn, start with 2 chains, then do 1 double crochet in each stitch, and at the bottom of the panels where there is no clear stitches, what I'm going to do is 6 double crochet around quadruple crochets. Then where I have this cluster of single crochets, I'm going to do 3 double crochets. So 1, the second one in the middle, and the third one in the last row of single crochet. Then I have again a quadruple crochet. I will do 6 double crochets around it. Then another cluster of single crochet rows and 3 double crochets there. So that's how I'm going to work the bottom until I'm back on this side where I have clear single crochet patterns to work the double crochets on top. At the end, when you reach the beginning where the double crochet rows started, do a slip stitch into the first double crochet, and that is the end. And there you have it. I hope you liked the tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.